clinical professor of photojournalism, the manager of technology at the School of Communication at Loyola University, Chicago. Lunan's work is a great chance for us to sort of confront some of these issues that we've been talking about right in the face. We've got no one better to help guide us through it than a friend of Lou's and is going to take us through some of his work, Mr. Jamason Chen.
My name is Jamason Chen, and of course Jamason was not my given name when I was born. But when I came to this country, I think Jamason will be much easier to pronounce it. I was born and grew up in Shanghai, and I left Shanghai in 1994 for Singapore. Then 4 years after, 1998, I came to the U.S. I studied in University of Minnesota in School of Communication, specifically in visual communication. Then in 2009, I have a chance to relocate to Chicago, work in Loyola University, Chicago, especially they built the new School of Communication. So I manage media technology and also I teach photojournalism. Then 5 years ago, I switched to teach 360 VR because media ecosystem change all the time. So new media become available. I will show this first. You can see this, right? This is one page, actually from a catalog. That was in 1999. Before 1999, I didn't meet Lunan personally. So in 1999, Asian Society in New York curated a photo exhibition called 50 Years Inside the People's Republic. So the exhibition, they collect the photographs from Europe, America, and China. So one of the photographers is Xiaoming Li. Several pictures under the title Secret Catholics. So then I was in University of Minnesota. Then our Institute of Minneapolis photography director wanted to take this show, come to Minneapolis to show. Then he knows I'm in photography, so invite me to New York together. Then we decided to take the show, come to Minneapolis after New York. Then he said, I want to invite Li Xiaoming to the show, give a public speak. Then I thought, Li Xiaoming, I never heard Li Xiaoming. I know this work was done by Lunan. So then the museum, they contact Magnum Photo Agency in Tokyo office because Li Xiaoming or Lunan, he was back then only one Chinese photographer represented by Magnum Photo. Magnum Photo is the legend in photojournalism industry. So then through Tokyo office contact Lunan, no response. Then I said, let me give a try. So I contact a friend of mine. I know he's a very good friend of Lunan. Then that was 1999. Then I contact my friend to give me feedback, say, yes, I got contact with Lunan. First, he won't leave China. Second, he's working in a project. So you cannot reach him all the time. The answer is no, he cannot make it. So we lost this opportunity. Then, till 10 years after, the School of Communication, Loyola University, have a new building for the School of Communication. With the lobby space, the dean decided to do art exhibition. So I proposed Lunan, Secret Catholics, to the dean. Dean said, great. The condition is we want a photographer come. I said, okay, that's the second time I made a try. In the end, Lunan made it. So, Lunan, who is Lunan? He's a very low-key. Before I came here, I contacted Beijing. I said, would it be possible to have a Lunan to record a short video, agree to the conference? My friend said, no. Lunan never ever does it because he hates the camera. He never showed to the public. Then I know, hopefully he's not hiding somewhere online. Because in China, once Guangzhou Art Museum had a solo show for him, a solo show. In the opening, he disappeared. He stood way, way, way back of the audience. Just stood there. No one knows who's Lunan. Even till today, not many people know how Lunan looked like. So this is Lunan. photographer to Loyola. So then he came. Then we did a show. Then I took him around Chicago. Then he was so excited, especially in the summer. Then Chicago Millennium Park have an open concert. He was sitting there, immersed into the classic music. Didn't even want to leave because he was proposing, say, we go to a Chinese buffet. I said, okay. Then we were sitting there. I said, Lunan, we should go. Could you give me several more minutes? Then he visited the museum, the photography archive room. He was so excited. He said, in my whole life, I haven't been that excited to see the original work. Didn't even ask him to, he asked, should I put my gloves when I take the pictures? I said, no, you don't need it. He said, first time I touched the masterpieces without any protection. Now we need to have a face mask, right? You see the masterpieces, you can just use your neck hand to hold it, look so close. That's what in his dream. That's the big picture. So he was so excited. So today, at the third time, Lunan came to the U.S. However, because all the situation, he cannot make it. But his work will show here. So then when Michael, we contact, I said, I would like to present his work. But of course, I cannot fully speak to him. But since because we know, I probably could give a guideline for my understanding. It's not just one book. He actually got trilogy from 1989 all the way to, I think, 2000 something. From mental hospital project to on the road, Catholic, Chinese Catholic project to the end, Tibetan. So I would say this kind of like from humanity to special spirituality. And that's a Camino walk. For him, for me, it's kind of like a walk to the destiny. So I will go quickly, give you a quick view how this on the road come to his mind. So let's see the first project. So as a photographer, he first worked in the darkroom in the Nationality pictorial magazine. Then from 1989, he quit the job, become a freelance photographer. So he started taking pictures. So this is the picture he took in the Beijing alley because he was born and grew up in Beijing, native Beijingese. So, and you can not really find in the art market his works. This is, I think, only one or very few in the art market you can find. So this picture is a blind girl. He took this picture. You can see through the eyes, even the girl didn't see anything. But the sense to the beauty of the world, to the spirit, he started photographing. So this is the first picture he took. It's not the project yet. So then he decided he needed to do a project. So what project he needed to do? He wanted to do a project about the mental hospital. Even he started, he's a very naive. He asked people, he was like, how many hospitals do you want to take? He think, okay, maybe 20. But he was not sure if China has 20 mental hospitals. He thought maybe that's too many. Turned out it's much more. So finally he took pictures of 30 mental hospitals. Wow. So this is the picture in that book. He now, if you look at this book, he now make a very, very short comment or the text. From that book, My Mental Hospital, he wrote a little bit more information. But for this picture, 11 years old girl in the mental hospital, he ignored, scratched the name, didn't give the name because he was thinking, if the girl grow up, everyone knows who is this girl. She might get in trouble in her life. So he start writing short notes. But this is the girl. If you look at the picture before, you can see he's very much focused on the person. No matter whatever, it's a human being. From the eyes, look nowhere, then hold the pendant. So this is kind of humanity. He starts feeling the pain or the sympathy. So that's another mental, it's not the hospital, because in rural China, some mental patients, they can only stay home. Their family take care of each other. This is a close-up, a blind man. Just see the eyes. It's very difficult to use the word to describe. When you see the eyes, you can sense, as a human being, what we suffer and how we survive. This is husband and wife in the mental hospital in Shanxi province. Then they took care of each other. When he started finishing this project, he was thinking, what will be my next project? Until once he was in the mental hospital. Behind the hospital was a church. He saw the high, tall church roof with a cross. He decided, my next project, it's about Catholic. It's about the church, because that's a faith. That's the power. So move from human suffering to seek the spirit healing. So he decided after this project, because the church, the cross behind the mental hospital, and also the hospital, it's in part of the church as well. So he decided to think, okay, my next project will be Catholic community. So that will be the project called On the Road. So On the Road is kind of like it's a popular, choreography on the road. Those young people drive car from Chicago, Road 66, all the way down. It's a Camino is seek the spiritual refresh. So that for him, on the road is he start moving from humanity to seek spirituality. Once in the interview, the journalist asked him, he did very few interviews, I think less than 5 times. One interview, the journalist asked him, what inspired you most? When you work on the project, what did you carry with you to, he said, this is the book, called I and the Thou, original, by Martin Buber. He said, I started reading this book. I was so excited. I read at least more than 1,000 times. He said, in the first 100 times, I was so excited to talk to people about this book, how this book inspired him. He said, after 100 times, I become quiet. I don't talk anymore. He said, I feel this book coming to my blood, become part of me. So I don't want to go deep to what is this book about. If you search I and the Thou by Martin Buber, then you find what this book talks about. It's basically about human society and God. This picture is a teenager carry a Christ picture, walk. It's kind of like on the road. He always have this kind of you can sense a little bit of loneliness. It's kind of like himself. Always walk alone, live alone, disappear. You don't see him. When you see him, he will have a body of work. This one took in Shanxi province. Shanxi, not Shanxi, Shanxi, Xi'an, Shanxi. So there's a story behind it. He went to the community. He took a picture. He wanted to take a picture. In China, this kind of home church, very difficult. You'll get in trouble, right? So you need to find some insiders. Then he asked people, how could I get into this community? People say, hey, you should look for a priest called Father Li or Lao Li, Father Lao Li. Then he couldn't find it. Then once he was arrested, then the camera was taken away. Then he basically stopped. He cannot work anymore. Then he tried to find where is Father Li. Disappeared, couldn't find it. Then he's like, okay, it's done. I cannot work anymore. So then he left that small town, took a train to Xi'an. In the train station, he was sitting there. Then the young person came to him, said, oh, I heard you lost your camera. Did you get the camera back? He said, no, Then he boarded on the train. So on the train, a gentleman sit across the hallway, face to him. Asked him, said, I heard you're photographing our community. He said, yes. He said, I'm Father Li. He said, wow, what coincidence. I was looking for Father Li. I couldn't find him. Now he's just right sitting in front of me. Then through this story, now understand why you see the first picture, his name called Li Xiaoming. Of course, that's my assumption. He'll never tell. So why is it Li Xiaoming? His last name is Lu, not Li. Probably that's a Father Li. Inspired him to say, why don't I just take Father Li's last name as a Li Xiaoming? Because he used twice fake names. If you search, first time for the hospital, mental hospital, publishing overseas, he used called Ma Xiaoming. Then second time, there's on the road called Li Xiaoming. So this is the story behind him. He had a lot of difficulties, but he got a lot of help. He had no money. Then a lot of priests helped him in overseas, send films to him, photo papers to him, give some money to support him to travel. When he came to Loyola, after Loyola, he said he needed to go to Philadelphia, to visit a father over there, priest. He said because that priest helped him to finish this project. So he's a very much kind of appreciate any help, teeny tiny help he got. He will remember forever. So this is the story that he photographed. Then why people recommend the Father Li, because people taught him, if you find a Father Li knows every leader in the home church communities. It's kind of like if say it's not proper equivalent. It's kind of like if you see Hong Kong action film, it's kind of gangster, 打佬. So they knows every tangko. Every tangko. So if you find that person will take care of everything. So finally, Father Li just writes it in front of him. From there, he knows God is helping him. This picture, you can tell, they're not Han Chinese. So his project covered from Mongolia all the way down to Yunnan province, from Han to Tibetans, and also other minority. This picture is the Yunnan province. First time I saw this picture, you know where I saw this picture? I saw in the PC magazine. Do you remember PC magazine? Probably not many people remember if you're not in this field. PC magazine in 90s, very popular, tech magazine. They used this picture to promote some kind of a computer technology. Could you imagine what this related to technology? We're in San Jose, Silicon Valley close. Do they ever think the technology connection to the spirituality? Probably not. But as a artist or social scientist, we could connect. Technology need to have a spirituality to enhance the power. So this picture taken, you see the prayer, very simple situation, but the spirit, the carry with it. Same thing. This, you can tell, this is not in southern or Mongolia. It's the both people. The church could be anywhere. As long as you have a space, you carry your spirit, then you worship God. Anywhere. God there, that's the home. You can tell how simple. You can tell the priest, to confess. There's no room. There's no quote-unquote privacy. This was the first time I came here, I learned the word called privacy. I don't even know there's a privacy exists, because I looked for, when I just came here, I stood in the hostel, then I met a guy, he's very nice. I didn't know him. He just saw me, he said, he spent 3 months in China, he could speak a little bit Chinese. Are you Chinese? Yes. Where did you stay? Across the street, the hostel. He said, oh, that's a hostel? I thought they sold the house. I said, no. He said, I want to take a look. He went there. Oh, you don't have a privacy here. I said, privacy? What does that mean? I just need a space. So you can see this priest, confession, lined together. When you see the picture, you understand. Actually, as long as the way they believe, so you can tell this is in Yunnan province, in the minority, Yi minority. You can see the clothes. It's kind of like a family talk to each other. You can see they come to home. The priest is just like a regular neighborhood uncle. You cannot really tell. There's no special dress or anything. But the spirit, you see, they're carrying the statues. Then that's the meaning to them. They feel the power. Even sometimes they're really powerless, but God gave them the power to survive in the rough, tough situation. At home, the elderly, you can see, they still the Baptists with the kids. You see, this is a very standard family portrait in Chinese culture. To sit aside, then something in the middle. If you see the classic photo analyzed, then the family picture in the back. You see the Jesus Christ, the picture in the back as well, but the Chairman Mao picture as well. So for them, it's not say right or wrong or political, or that's what they believe. These are in my life. You can see, it's so normal. A village Chinese family. But in the background, you see the happy kids picture and with the Catholic calendar and the Jesus statue. Everything put together, it's a home, family, and the faith. Chinese love this kind of big family get together. You can see the generation. It's just my assumption. It's not really true. If I could say, if you put a current situation, the parents went to other province to work, making money, then left kids at home, then grandparents took care of them. It's normal. Then in the back you can see the pictures, longevity, the painting, that's a very classic Chinese drawing, shows longevity, the life. Then the pictures in the middle shows the faith they carry. This is minority family. You can see life is very tough. Sometimes very simple. It's not like here, we have a buffet or whatever. You see, very simple. The whole family, so many people with a meal. But the faith stood there, blessed them, and gave them the power. They never lose their hope. It's not hopeless. They're just powerless. But the faith to give them power. I saw this picture. I feel that's my grandmother. It's so simple. Because my grandmother, the same thing. My grandmother is illiterate. She never went to school. But it's kind of like a live in her own faith life. You see, that's a very classic village grandmother cooking that all the time pray whatever God gave to us. Appreciate the life. You see, the people help each other. When you're sick, then bring the faith. So this is the Catholic Church, the school, then the teacher, nuns, to teach these kids to sing the song. You can tell this in rural area, in the mountain area. But the faith, the cross, and also the kids, all their faith, they're singing. This is in Tibet, the candlelight. So you can tell they don't have electric lights, candle lights, but they still sing, they pray. Same thing, this is in Yi nationality, in the Guizhou province. Sometimes you think, God, how could these people, minority nationality, Yi nationality, become a Catholic? That's years long ago, from French, French missionary come from Vietnam all the way down to Yunnan, then Guizhou, then carried the mission, then left over there. These people, generations, they live in rural area. Then nothing destroyed them. Even Japanese occupation didn't really go that deep. So they live totally by their own. Then whatever they believe, they carry with them. Even maybe just like a life never changed. And also the faith never changed either. So this is the picture. There's a story behind it. So this picture, this lady hold this cross. So this cross, during Cultural Revolution, her husband hide this cross into the wall, sealed it. Didn't tell wife, because in the Cultural Revolution, it's very strange. Sometimes family members work against each other. So then the husband thought, okay, I just hide it. Don't tell my wife. If I tell my wife might tell the government, then put me in the prison. So after Cultural Revolution, took it out. And every afternoon, 4 o'clock, this lady will feed the sheep. So when the photographer take a picture, and also the sheep likes to buy the chosen, the lady, all the time. But this time when the photographer taking picture, he just suddenly saw that moment. The sheep turn around, kiss the cross. Just in that a fraction moment, press the button, get this picture. So you can see this is the craftsman to make the Christ statue. So this is another, you see the coffin, in some Chinese culture believe before you die, you prepare your own coffin. You at least leave the last money for the coffin for yourself. So this old generation, they usually do. My father's mother, grandmother, another grandmother, that's a prepare. Then on the coffin said, I believe my flesh body will revive again. So hold the Bible. So the faith makes him strong enough, never care about death or afterlife. This is another very interesting picture. You see these three ladies sit in the middle, carry Jesus' picture. This lady carry a Taoism statue. That lady carry a Tibetan Buddhist statue. So in their faith, all these could live together. So that's what is the story behind it. So when Lunan finished this project, first approach to the Taiwanese photographer, he started a photo magazine. And he showed all the pictures to that photographer. The photographer feel very powerful, then publish. Taiwan now, it's a very big Buddhism organization or temple. So they saw the magazine, they saw the picture, they thought, wow, how could the picture is so powerful to tell the spirituality? Then they said, wow, this picture speaks more than 1,000 words. So this is the picture when they published this picture in the magazine. They just found, wow, the faith actually could live together, never ever fight with each other. This is the last one. People always think that that's Lunan. Actually, that's not, because people don't never see Lunan. Who's Lunan? So this is the last picture. Also, the cover picture in the book. So that very much, even though it's not Lunan, but that's how Lunan feels. You always walk alone, like you have a Camino walk. Then you walk to your destiny, no matter how tough, how difficult. In the end, move from Tibet. So this is the spirit. Then now move to Tibet. Then he find another human society and the spirit come together. In Chinese culture, we call heaven, earth, and the people. So the first spiritual, the mental hospital is about people. Then the Catholic, it's about heaven. Now he come back to the earth. See how these three will communicate with each other. Then find not just I, it's a thou. You can see very much the style is kind of like in the Catholic community, the way people live with. As long as you have a peace, you see, the family, the simple life, but happy. The pray, never stop. The strength on the face, not by the life, how rich the life is, how strong your faith is. This is the last picture I choose to respond to the first picture, a kid walk alone again. So it's on the road. I think from his project, I think every one of us always on the road, on the Camino walk to the destiny we believe and we're seeking. Now, a little bit quiet time to listen to this music, because when Lunan come to my class, I asked him to give a presentation. He said, I don't know what I'm going to talk. I give you slides and give you music to play. This music, composed by a Chinese musician called Zhuo Xiaozhou. The soundtrack called Flying Through Woods, 在林中飞过. Very ironically, this collected in the album called 美国. If you understand now 美国, so first people thought that because the album nothing to do with America, it's about Yunnan. It's a south of cloth, Yunnan. Then people thought that maybe English name called it Beautiful Country. Turned out no. Actually, the album, if you search this album name is called The USA. So let's listen to this music. If you want to take a little bit mental break, this is the moment. That's what Lunan gave to me. I present to my class. Used to be a rock musician, very rebellious. This music, through his life, he came back to a very calm, spiritual journey to seek the peace and the love. Alone in the Tibet, in Mongolia, in Tianjin, Xi'an, in Jiangnan, in Yunnan, carried the cameras. Cameras were taken away. He was inspired, took a train alone, without money, suddenly got a check, got a bunch of films, shipped through Hong Kong to him from overseas. This project from 1992 to 1996, 4 years, a journey alone, with only a camera, to meet people, to listen to people's stories. Imagine this priest walk along the front carpet. You only see the monk and hear the breeze. You feel you communicate with God. Welcome, Lunan. This is a true Lunan. Now you know how Lunan looked like. This was the Loyola show. Before Loyola show, I visit Beijing. Then I met him. Then we select the pictures. So that's Lunan, and also that's me. So I didn't lie to you. I know Lunan personally too. Thank you so much. And hopefully this will give you a brief picture what this book project behind it, and who is Lunan. He is not Catholic. He claims he has no religion, but he has a faith, very strong. Thank you so much, and that's my contact information. And now I want to hand to my colleague Anne, and she will give her very unique perspective for some pictures.
I am privileged and grateful for the opportunity to reflect on the photographic documentary of the practice of Catholic faith in some of the rural villages in China. I should first offer a disclaimer. I am not an expert on photography, not theology, not Catholicism in China, but I am Chinese, born in Shanghai, and I am a Catholic. I try to be a good disciple of Jesus. So Father Michael thought that these qualifications are enough. He trusted me that I'll have something intelligent to share. I hope my remarks and reflections will not do just injustice to the wonderful collection of deeply moving images of the faithfuls in some rural villages, parts of China, that Mr. Lunan skillfully captured with his camera. The photo book On the Road is no doubt a masterpiece. It is a powerful way to help readers to see how these communities live out their Catholic faith. These photographs do not precisely tell me what Mr. Lunan was seeing, thinking, or feeling when he took the pictures. The captions in the book are descriptive, but they do not reveal what was going on within Mr. Lu's mind. So I have to use my imagination to fill in the blanks of the stories behind the images, some of which were shown by Professor Chen. The stories of the images that the camera of Mr. Lu has captured. Indeed, these images brought out a lot of imaginations, emotions, and all kinds of wild thoughts in my mind. So to be sure, these photos were awesome. Total faith, devotion, and piety were clearly shown in the villagers' faces and body language. No word is necessary. Their bodily expressions tell all. Also, faith pervades every aspect of their life, as we can see from the pictures that you've already been shown by Professor Chen. So these pictures reveal their livelihood integrated with their faith, from baptism at birth to burial upon death. To these villages, God is central and dominates their minds and activities every minute of the day. It is evident that they practice the two major commandments that Jesus taught us. Love God with all your soul, heart, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. So their lives are both rich and simple. Rich with faith, compassion, and love. Simple with total trust in God. The essay by Mr. Li Shengting at the end of the book, so be sure you get a copy, says that Mr. Lunan did not take photos of Catholics in the cities. It was due to political reasons that Mr. Li said. So I was thinking and imagining, if you were going to take some pictures in the cities, I suspect that you would have difficulty finding many families or communities which practice such complete faith as these villagers do. Life in the cities is too preoccupied by the demands of getting successful, getting rich, getting famous. Okay? Fame, vanity, and wealth are distractors to total devotion to God, as we know. So I am reminded by these photographs that Mr. Lunan took and shared with us that to live simply without any worldly desires is a necessary condition to be true followers of Christ, like these villages. And I ponder longer on a few pictures. Next one. So the photo with a sister carrying a baby, an orphan, by the way, reminds me of Mother Teresa. Next, please. And the next picture, please. And the old woman, praying with rosary in her hands, has the same weathered face and devoutness of our Saint Mother Teresa. Next, please. So you may know that the missionary of charity, in order founded by Mother Teresa, are not allowed to enter China. She tried, and she has this one of her major regrets in life, as I was told. Many sisters in China, nonetheless, do the work of the MC Sisters without the title of MC Sisters. The photo of a sister teaching children to sing, and we saw this photo before already, reminds me of the sisters who take care of HIV patients in Changsha, a place where I visited a few years earlier. Next picture. The woman with mental illness for 60 years is in the photo book. Reminds me of the woman who suffered from hemorrhage for 12 years, reported in Luke 8, chapter 8. So this woman who suffered from mental illness for 60 years believed that she would be healed if the woman in Luke chapter 8, believed that she would be healed if she could only touch the clothing of Jesus. As this woman in the village that Mr. Lu saw and took photo of, believed that Jesus would heal her with her devotion to Jesus. So of course, other people in the Bible and in the village thought this is madness, but their faith healed them. And the caption said she was healed afterwards. So next picture. So the picture of the Mass held at home, gathering of the faithful on the hilltop and on the boat, have their parallels in the Bible as well. Jesus taught in the homes of disciples and even sinners. He preached on the mountains and in the boat. Praying for the sick and mourning for the dead, with familiar stories in the gospel also. I don't know how well Mr. Lu knows the story of Jesus or the gospel. Doesn't matter whether he knows or not, but he already knows the life of Jesus. And many stories in the gospels, because his pictures reveal the depth of the lives of the people in those villages, which has parallels to the lives of people in the gospels. So Mr. Lu was able to have the eyes for the scenes activities that reveal that deep faith tradition that we have in our Catholicism. Next picture. Then there is the iconic photo of the Franciscan friar on the road. Yes. Okay. He is traveling alone, as Jesus often did. He only has what he was wearing, with a few books wrapped up in a cloth. The landscape also has resemblance to the terrain of the Holy Land, with small villages nested in the rolling hills. The friar's sackcloth tunic, his clothing, looked similar to what Jesus was wearing 2,000 years ago. Does Mr. Lu have Jesus in mind when he took this picture of this Franciscan friar? I wonder if Mr. Lu had ever looked at a picture of Jesus. He probably has. Not sure though. So the final picture on the church members commemorating Jesus' entry into Jerusalem, that's what the picture is supposed to mean, reminds me of Jesus being offered as a sacrificial lamb, returning to Jerusalem and to redeem our sins. So it seems that the book On the Road is actually a salvation story of the villagers. In Mr. Li Chen's word, quote, and I quote, "The faith and devotion of this community of believers enable them to obtain the spiritual strength necessary for life, even highlighting their perennial good-natured, peaceable, and overflowing love in the midst of arduous and impoverished living conditions." And those are the people that Jesus loved the most, Mother Teresa loved the most, the poorest of the poor. So though not explicit from the photos, I also suspect and imagine that these villagers are actually experiencing joy, one of the gifts of the Holy Spirit. And I'm sure they are gifted every day by the Holy Spirit with their devoutness to Jesus and our Lord. So on the road, for me, it's a pilgrimage to the remote villages where the Catholic faith is being practiced in its purest, truest form. Not saddled with church teachings, dogma, and rituals, Mr. Lunan focused on the faith and not the religion. He captured the human expression of faith and not the rituals, the rules of the physical buildings of the church. As I learned from my Jesuit friends, God is not just within the four walls of the physical church. God is everywhere, and God's kingdom is here and now as it is among the people in the mountainous villages. So it's a pilgrimage that deeply moved me. It's a pilgrimage that I look forward to revisiting again and again. So thank you, Mr. Lunan, for this special gift. And I thank you all for allowing me to share my naive reflections. Though they don't do justice to the depth of Mr. Lu's work, but my simple ideas is accompanied by a deep level of gratitude. So thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cui, for taking such effort to pull together these beautiful images and your beautiful reflections. You know, the first time I went to China, I mentioned that I was American, but that my family came from Italy. And on more than one occasion, people turned to me and said, "Oh, Italians, they're just like Chinese." I said, "Oh, I see." But then I thought about it. I said, well, Italians like food. The Chinese like to share food. Italians love family. Chinese love family. And when Italians get together, they make a lot of noise. Just like Chinese. And ever since Italians shared the secret of making spaghetti noodles with the Chinese, we've become even more alike. Actually, when I first looked at the photos of Lunan, the first thing I thought was, I see my family. You see, not Han or Miao or Yi people. You see human beings. People like us. Different, but the same. What do you see etched in their faces? Life. You see human life etched in their faces. And all its history and beauty. The old and the young, from the north to the south. Now, I don't think you have to have had family that comes from a village to really relate to these people. My family did come from the Italian countryside. But I think we can all see that, yes, we are all part of that one family. The first time I saw the photos of Lunan, it was in Chicago at that show that Jamason Chen so beautifully curated. That was in 2011 in Chicago. It was a little bit of a mystery where these photos came from. We were told, wow, this project was a very special project. We may never get to see these photos again. And the project came and people were lined up. The photos were on exhibit. And then they disappeared. Well, they're in the storeroom at Loyola University of Chicago now. Now I found out. But But I sort of forgotten about them until last spring. That's when I got a WhatsApp message from Hukang Lee. Father, I think you might be interested in this. Hukang Lee was a student of mine. He had been a student of mine, and he suffered through 3 of my sociology classes at Loyola University, Chicago. And he said, Father, you might be interested in this. I just walked into a bookshop, and in the photography section, they have this book on Catholics in China. This was, again, about a year and a half ago. And he sent me some of those pictures through WhatsApp. And I instantly recognized them. I said, oh, Kang Lee, who is the photographer? And he told me, oh, it's Lunan. And then he asked me, would you like me to buy a copy of the book to bring back? So I asked him, well, how many copies are there? He said, there are 4. I said, how heavy are they? He said, they're pretty heavy. I said, would you buy them for me and I'll pay to have them shipped back? Because the book was printed in limited edition in China. It's almost impossible to get outside of China. And there are only a few copies floating around in China now. There have been additional printings, but it's still very hard to find. So, well, at least maybe I can put it on display. But then I did a little more research. I found out more about the photographer and his fame. And I thought, well, we have this conference coming up. Maybe we can get in touch with him. Maybe we could invite him to come and speak. So we began to think about ways of doing this. And it turns out that Ian Johnson, who we spoke with earlier today, his wife is a photographer. And she knows Lunan. So we thought, well, maybe she can get in touch with him. Then my trusty friend and associate, Chen Xing, he said, well, maybe if we go through Loyola University Chicago, we can open up a channel. So we did. We got in touch with Jamason Chen. He got in touch with Lunan. Lunan was actually set to come to speak to us. But then this pandemic hit. He was going to come in March of 2020, and then things got delayed, and now he would have to quarantine 2 weeks coming and 3 weeks going back. So he said it's really just a little bit too much. And as it turns out, while we don't have Lunan present with us, I think we're doubly blessed to have Jamason Chen with us. Because we got to see the work of Lunan and also hear his reflections and to say some of the things about Lunan that he would never say about himself, because he's a very humble man. I think everybody has said many things about these photographs. So there's not too much more that I want to say about them. But I do know that one of the things that we see in these photographs is people who are poor and who come from a kind of a past that many people want to escape from. I know when my Italian grandparents and great-grandparents came from Italy, they came to America not to embrace what they left behind, but to climb into the middle class, to achieve the kind of success and status that, well, that's part of the modern world. But they didn't run after that and completely forget their origins. In fact, my mother always tells the story. She says when she was growing up in New Rochelle, it was her parents that came from Italy. When she was growing up in New Rochelle, New York, one day she turned to her mother. She said, "Mom, are we middle class?" And her mom just looked at her and said, No, we're poor. As a matter of fact, not as an apology, not as something to be ashamed from. That's who we are, and it's fine. Because that's not what defines our souls and our integrity. So, when we look at these people, we see the background that China has done a lot to lift people out of. There's nothing glorious about poverty. What's glorious is being human. And that's the thing we don't want to forget. We don't want to forget where we came from. Because if we do, then it is we who are poor. I was so impressed that Lunan was able to capture the faith lives of these people, not being Catholic himself. And maybe in a sense, that helped him to see. Because, sometimes we repeat phrases and tropes and so forth. And for him, it was fresh. It was something to explore and to capture. Now, I have done some amateur photography myself. We talked about the kind of film he used. It was Tri-X. It's a very grainy film. I had to grapple with how to get the prints to print correctly, because these prints were made from digital images that originally go back to film that was shot in the 1990s. And if you've ever worked with film, you can't take 27 pictures and then pick one of them that looks right. You have to stay there and capture the moment. You have to be in the middle of the moment. And when you look at those pictures, you see what he has captured in the lives of these people. They're brilliant. They're brilliant. So I jumped at the opportunity to have Lunan come to be with us. I'm sorry that he can't be here. I thank him deeply. We did arrange to have his book printed here in the U.S. He gave permission for that, and Ignatius Press has been our partner with this episode, with this project. And we have tried to be as faithful as we could to the original, from the cover to the keeping the essay of Li Xingtu. And we even had that essay translated into English. It was just in Chinese before. And that took a little bit of effort, because there's a beauty in the Chinese that's sometimes a little bit difficult to capture in translation. We tried to do the best that we could. So it is a great joy to be able to offer this book as an opportunity for us to reflect, I think, on faith in our lives, on our roots, and on where we come from, and who has handed on that faith to us, sometimes at great price. So you will see that you can order this book if you would like, for your own meditation or as a gift. We actually have it's not ready. It will be ready in October, early October. But you can pre-order it. There's even a little QR code that will take you to the Lunan page on our website, where you can find out a little bit more information about Lunan. I do think this man is a genius because he reminds us of our humanity and our divinity. He went to the mental hospitals to remind us how truly beautiful every human being is. He documented Catholics in China, and looking at them, you see that they are equally Chinese, equally Catholic, and equally human. All those things are seamlessly integrated into who they are. His whole life of photography, I think, is an act of devotion. So, Jamason, the next time you speak with Lunan, tell him how grateful we all are for his work. And we have a word from Jamason Chen.
Yeah, so that's not 15-second commercial, no. But I just want to give a comment about this book. because when we did a show in Loyola, so Loyola really want to buy some pictures for the show. However, Lunan never ever sold any single pictures. If you want to buy pictures, Jose. So this book is the only collection if you love Lunan's work. And also the book edited by him, the sequence he managed. So that's his story, his choice, and also his whole body of work. If you want to collect, that's the only, like Michael said, the limited edition in China sold out. And you might buy on the second-hand bookstore. It's my high, price goes high. So this will be traditional version Chinese.
Traditional character.
Yeah, so that's another limited collectible book. I'm not doing 15-second commercial. It's just want to give you hands up. Sometimes you think, oh, I love picture. I might just want to buy one of the picture. No, you never ever, unless you buy whole sets of the pictures. I don't want to tell you how much. You can imagine how much. But the book definitely is the collection of the whole body of work and the Lunan's whole idea goes through this project. Thank you.
Thank you all.